Alright, welcome back to this video guys. In this video, you will learn how to use the Artboard tool inside Photoshop, and in the end, you will be able to create a uniform YouTube banner that matches all three devices according to YouTube's recommendation just inside one single document. So let's get started. For you to be able to work with Artboards inside Photoshop, you need to create a new document. So let's go to File and then choose New. And as you can see, the width is set to 1000 pixels and the height of 500 pixels. One important button you need to check is this button right here. If you want to create your document as an artboard while you create it, just make sure it is turned on and then you click on Create. We have Artboard 1 as well. So to rename this artboard, let us just double click on the word Artboard 1 and call it maybe Frame 1. Hit Enter to confirm. And as you can see on the canvas, it reflects here as well. Now for you to be able to duplicate this artboard, so even you have the Move tool selected, just come here towards the edge here and then just double click. And after double clicking, you have these plus buttons all around the canvas. So if you need to create this artboard towards the right, you click on this button. To the top, you click here. To the left, you click on this one, and to the bottom, you click here. So I intend to create another artboard towards the right, so I'm going to click on this button. Now we have two artboards. Of course, we need to change this one to Frame 2, so I'll double click on the name here and call it Frame 2. Now we can be able to change the orientation of our artboard by going here on the options bar with the Artboard tool selected and clicking on Portrait. It is Portrait because currently it is landscape mode. So let's click on Portrait, and as you can see, it changes as well. To make it landscape again, you can click on this other button and it goes back. Very useful. Now let's zoom in here so that you can see what is going on. As we duplicated this artboard towards the right, you can see Photoshop is intelligent enough to know that there is no space here. So it added buttons here, here and here, which means you can add an artboard towards the top here, towards the right or towards the bottom, but not towards the left because there is no space right at this portion. Now apart from clicking on the plus sign to duplicate artboards, you can also create custom artboards by just making sure the Artboard tool is selected from the toolbar, and then you can just drag like so. And as I drag, you can be able to see that heads up display with a width value of 349 and a height value of 342. So if I release, I create a new artboard. Now after creating this artboard, if you need to modify the dimensions, you can click on the Properties panel, and here you will be able to modify the width and height. Notice that we have a little chain icon in between. So if I turn that on by clicking on it, any change I make towards the width will also drive the height as well. So let's increase the width, and as you can see, the height increases as well. You might be wondering what the X and Y values at the bottom here actually do. These values explain the position of this artboard on the whole canvas. So if I click on the X axis, you can see I can be able to move it horizontally, and if I click and scrub on the Y value, I can be able to move it up and down just like so. And of course, with this artboard, we can change the background to either transparency, or we can choose black, or we can pick any other custom color by clicking on the color picker here and selecting maybe this red. If you want to modify the width without modifying the height, you can make sure the chain icon here is turned off, and this time you can be able to scrub on the width and modify it irrespective of the height. And since we just added this artboard, if I were to click on the plus sign right now, Photoshop is intelligent enough to bring another artboard that has the same dimension as the previous one. Now after creating a custom artboard such as the Artboard tool we have here, we can change the dimension by switching to the Artboard tool, and then here on the options bar we can click on the size. If I need to make this maybe the iPad or Microsoft Surface, I can click on the word custom and choose Surface Pro 4. And as you can see, the dimensions of this artboard will actually match with the dimensions of Surface Pro. If you are upset that it is in portrait mode, you can always click on this button to send it to landscape mode. Now let's create another custom artboard right here because there is something I need to show you. As you can see, we have different artboards on the space board. So if we need to align all these artboards, what we need to do is to make sure our Move tool is selected, and then we can come here on the Layers panel, click the first artboard, hold the Shift key and click on the last one. Now here at the top, you see these controls. Of course, if you click on these three buttons, you will still have the same controls right here. So you can click on the one in the middle here to align everything horizontally. Of course, that is not what I want, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo. I can click on this button to align everything vertically. Now since I need to align everything to the top, I'll just click on this button, and as you can see, everything is aligned to the top just like so. Now before we move ahead to create the YouTube banner, there is something I need to show you. So I have an image on my desktop. I'm going to drag this image into Photoshop. So what if you already have a document of this size and you need to convert it into an artboard? What will you do? Very simple, guys. First, you make sure the layer is unlocked, and then you right click, and here you see Artboard from layers. So you can click that option, and maybe I can give the name hotel. Okay, now we have a brand new artboard. To add another artboard that has the same dimensions as this document, with the move tool, let's just double click towards the edge here, and as you can see, we have these controls. If I click here, we now add another document that has the same dimensions as the hotel document. So let's now proceed to create the YouTube banner. So I go to File and choose New, and if you check on YouTube's website, the banner can be made in 3 instances. There can be a banner for YouTube TV. If you think most of your viewers watch your channel on their YouTube TV, you can use that one. So for the YouTube TV banner, I'm going to enter a width of 2560, hit the Tab key to advance to the height, and enter 1440. Then I need to make sure Artboard is checked, and then just click on Create. Now let's start by renaming this artboard by double clicking on the name. I'll call this YouTube TV banner, just like so. And let's try to actually design it. So I'm going to go to my shape tools and pick the rectangular tool. And here at the top, I don't intend to have any fill, so I take the fill to nothing. I actually want the stroke to be this color. I want the stroke width to be 20 pixels. Now I'll just click somewhere around here and drag. Of course, I want this to be fully aligned to the canvas, so I'm going to press Ctrl A to select everything, and then with my move tool, I can click here and click here. Then to deselect, I'll press Ctrl D. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to go again to my shape tools and pick an ellipse tool. And for the first ellipse, I actually want a stroke, so I'll just click, hold the shift key to make sure it is constrained to make it a perfect circle, and maybe I increase the stroke up to 25 pixels. Now something when designing inside Photoshop is to make sure you have auto select turned off, because if you have that turned on, you might mistakenly move things around. If I hold the Ctrl key, it turns on. If I let it go, it turns off. That means you can hold the Ctrl key down and click on that particular element to select it. So I can hold Ctrl key now, click on the circle to select it, and I need to make another duplicate of this circle by pressing Ctrl J, and on the duplicate copy, I'll switch to my path selection tool in order to have access to the fill and stroke. Then I'm going to click on the fill and make it this color, and then for the stroke, I actually want to remove it. Now I want the ellipse one to be above the copy. Now I'm going to go to my hard drive and import this image. So I'll just drag the image inside Photoshop and place it just anywhere like so. Now I'm going to confirm my transformation, and then since I want this image to only appear within the ellipse, I'm going to move it just below the ellipse one, and then hold the Alt key to clip it. Now with the move tool, we can be able to fine tune it and make sure it appears nicely just like so. So let's put it inside one group as a smart object. Now the next thing I need to add is the channel name. So I'll grab my text tool, and I'm going to change the font to Gilroy. Then I'll just click here and enter the channel name. Then I'm going to transform it by pressing Ctrl T and then just scaling it up like so. I can select the text by double clicking on the text thumbnail and then change the color to this particular color here. And then maybe I can take the weight to bold. Then let's move it up a bit and import some social media icons. Now let's just put all these icons into one group as a smart object. Now press Ctrl T to scale them down even more. So as you can see guys, the first banner is ready. This means anybody who watches your channel using their TV will have this particular look when viewing your channel logo and name. Now as we learn, let's create another artboard, but this time for the desktop. So what I'm simply going to do is to zoom out and then double click here at the edge of the artboard, and then just click on the plus sign. Of course, this artboard is still the same as the TV artboard. So let's go to the properties panel, and here we can be able to modify the width and height. So the width is the same, but the height is 338. So let's enter 338 here and then hit enter. And as you can see, that artboard has been cropped as well. So now let's go to the layers panel and rename it. So I'll just double click on Artboard 1 and call it YouTube Desktop. Just like so. And what we simply have to do is to duplicate all these elements because we want to have a uniform look onto the desktop banner. So the first element I'm going to duplicate is the frame. So with my move tool, I'm going to hold the control key to make sure the frame is selected. In this case, the frame is the rectangle. So let's just rename that to frame. If you look here at the top of the layers panel, we have this lock button. If you click on this lock, you are going to lock everything. Means you can't be able to move the layer, use the brush, or move the artboard. But let's click on the social icons for instance. And right now, as you can see, because we imported these icons as PNGs, they are not actually part of this artboard. So I can be able to click on these icons and move them outside the artboard into another portion of the spaceboard, just like so. Now, if you were to export this document like this, Photoshop will not be able to export these documents because they are separate. They are not within this artboard. So if you need to make sure that this design element stays just within this artboard, let's press Ctrl Z. And what you simply have to do is to make sure the layer is selected. Then here on the layers panel, you click on the artboard icon right here. With that option activated, you won't be able to move these icons out of that artboard, as you can see. Let's press Ctrl Z to move them back. But since we actually want to duplicate everything here to this other YouTube banner, we need to make sure this icon is not checked. So let's turn it off. Now let's start by duplicating the frame. You can duplicate it by holding the Alt key, that will be the Option key, and then when you see this double-headed arrow, you just click and drag onto the next banner. Now if I release, it is going to be limited just within the desktop banner. And as you can also see, the new copy jumps from the TV banner onto the desktop banner automatically. So what we simply have to do is to scale it to make sure it fits in non-proportionally. So I'm going to press Ctrl T, then hold the Shift key and just drag this handle down and do the same thing here. Now let's confirm, and then the next item we need to duplicate is actually this icon with the guy. So I'll hold Ctrl key, select this guy or the subject, then with the Alt key or the Option key, I'm just going to drag it onto the desktop banner. And as you can see, it is too big, so we have to press Ctrl T to scale it down. This time I scale proportionally by not holding the Shift key. Let's just move it somewhere around here and scale it down even more. Then let us confirm. So as you can see guys, it is very easy to duplicate elements from one artboard onto another artboard. So let's duplicate the channel name. And then let's duplicate the icons. And there we have it. Now if we look on the layers panel, we see all these artboards open. Instead of clicking on this arrow button to collapse them one after another, of course this is very simple because we have just two artboards. Let's say you have all of them open like this. What you can simply do is to hold the Control key or the Command key, then click on any of this arrow. That is going to collapse them just like so. Now we need to create the last artboard. This artboard will make your channel visible to all devices, whether it's a mobile phone, a desktop, or a YouTube TV. So similar way, with the move tool, let's just double click somewhere around here. So I intend to place this one just below the desktop banner, so I'll just click on this button. Now the dimensions here are still the same as those with the desktop, so let's go to the properties panel, and this time the width and height are totally different. Not totally, but we need to change the width. So let's input 1235 and hit the tab key. That will switch us to the next value, which is 338, and everything seems okay. Now if you look the distance from this artboard to the desktop banner, it is too close. So we might actually need to move the artboard down a bit. One way to do it is to just click on these relative positions right here. So since I need to move it vertically, I'll just scrub on the Y value, as you can see, to have enough space in between them, just like so. And let's rename this artboard to all devices. Hit enter. Now let's simply do the same thing what we just did here. So I'm going to put it on fast forward mode. See you when I'm done. Again, let's collapse everything by holding the Control key or the Command key and just clicking on this arrow. Now comes the next part. How do we export all these artboards into separate documents? This is one of those options that make the Artboard tool really powerful. So just make sure you have no artboard selected if you intend to export all these artboards. Otherwise, if you have maybe the first artboard we created selected, Photoshop might think you just want to export that artboard. But if you actually want to export everything, make sure nothing is selected. Then simply go to File, Export, and as you can see, we have Artboards to Files. Just click on it. And the first thing I'm going to do is to give a destination, and I'm just going to select this folder and click OK. Here the destination is set. Now we need to give it a name, so I'll just call them banners. And then down here at the bottom, as you can see, we can change the file type. We can export PSDs, we can export JPEG, we can export even as a PDF. Now let's choose JPEG for the moment, and let's click on export options to reveal more options just like so. You see, we can include things such as the artboard name and the quality, but let's remove this. Now let's just click on run. And as you can see under the script alert, Artboard successfully exported. So let's go back to our desktop, and as you can see guys, we have a banner for YouTube TV, a banner for desktop, and a banner for all devices. Here is the YouTube TV banner, here's for the desktop, here's what everybody will see if they are viewing your channel with the desktop, and here is how everybody is going to view your channel irrespective of the device they use, whether a mobile phone, desktop, or TV. Now let's return back to Photoshop, and let's go to File, Export, and then let's choose Artboard to Files again. This time if we change the file type from JPEG maybe to PDF or PSD, let's choose PDF. You can see we have these other options. First, you can create a multi-page document, or you can create documents per artboard. Again, as you can see, artboards exported successfully. So let's go again to our hard drive. And as you can see, because we checked the option that says create artboard per document, you see we have all devices, we have the desktop, and then we have the TV. Just look guys, if we were to create this as individual documents, this YouTube TV banner will be one document, this one will be another document, and this one will be another document. But because we use artboards, we were able to create just one document which we haven't saved yet. Inside that document, we have multiple artboards, which we can then finalize our project by exporting them as individual documents if we wish to. So thank you for watching the video to the end, and if you got value out of it, encourage the channel by subscribing, and I'm going to see you in the next one tomorrow. Bye bye.